Hello everyone, happy equinox. I'm going to give attention in this talk to this eclipse season, delving more deeply into what I see as the essential theme, and also giving some attention to the transiting of Mercury. So let's just take a moment and observe the general energetics here. This eclipse season is an Aries eclipse with a North Node Chiron conjunction. Mercury is sort of sandwiching this eclipse season, right? It was just at the shadow degree of 15 or 16 degrees Aries where it'll return to at the end of this eclipse season. So the entire span of Mercury is sort of hugging this eclipse window. The ruler of this North Node, which is of great importance to us, is Mars, very soon to enter into Pisces. I want to speak about the strong pulse and charge of feeling activated, feeling instigated, feeling triggered. We all have a general relationship to the strong sensations that arise on a day-to-day basis. Anger, the urge to do something or interrupt someone, or, for the most part, most of us have learned how to sort of subdue and, suppress these strong instinctual reactions because it's not going to really allow for us to function in this world. We won't be able to get along in a relationship. And that's healthy, right? It's important to know how to sort of subdue that energy. But what's happened for many of us, especially those of us who are, maybe hyper aware of wanting to be a good person, a nice person, a kind person, to have a positive contribution to others, instead of taming the lion, we've sedated it. We've put the lion to sleep. And so where we should be acting up, where we should be saying something and expressing our needs, affirming our path and our direction, being more assertive with ourselves, the use of our will, that's been subdued unnecessarily so. And we have times like these with a very strong emphasis on Aries, North Node eclipse season on Aries, calling us to claim more of our personal will. And this can be very uncomfortable because we might find ourselves experiencing one of two conditions right now. Either feeling very stifled and stuck in the life conditions that we have, not knowing how to make a choice, not knowing how to make a new decision, how to differentiate ourselves from what other people want or need or the precedent that we've set, but feeling like there's something that needs to change. This could be a sort of depressing state. The other extreme is if we've completely put the lion to sleep, we might feel a very uncomfortable stirring of something powerful and alive beginning to awaken inside of us. Uh-oh, there's something happening there. I'm feeling a lot of anger. I'm feeling a lot of passion. What do I do about that? And here's the challenge. Aries doesn't know what to do about that. On its own, the archetype of Aries is just the movement of energy itself. Without some kind of direction, soulful intention and direction and purpose, this energy is either suppressed or just wildly expressed without any kind of direction or control. So what do we do if this energy is beginning to stir in us, especially if we've been conditioned to hold it back, to not want to express it? Well, it's calling us into a deeper realm of self-leadership. There's an extent to which we don't evolve if we aren't rooted in a healthy sense of self-entitlement to say yes, to say no, to make conscious choices. Because the more I look at this, we actually are pretty much always making choices moment to moment. When there's absence of self-leadership, we're still choosing, but not necessarily with a lot of thoughtfulness or conscientiousness. But the choosing is always happening. It's really about coming back to this point of, I care about my life. Consider the archetypal energy, the experience of not knowing what choices to make in life, not knowing what to do. What am I going to do? What do I commit to? What's my path? How do I say yes, right? We often think the issue is a sort of uncertainty. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know what path to take. It's not about not knowing. This is something that I am learning. This is an important learning. It's not about not knowing. It's about not adequately caring about our life and the experience of living purposefully and in alignment with meaning. And this is not about this false idea of using our willpower to force our way through and just making up some kind of purpose or direction. But when we understand that in the absence of clear, thoughtful intention, we're making choices all day anyway. Consider what happens during any fixed interval of time. Right? You have 2 hours in the morning, right? If you're not consciously intending what to do with that energy, because, well, I don't know, what do I do, right? Those 2 hours will go by and the day will just happen, or responsibilities, or the children will wake up, or things will begin happening and you'll just have to show up for it. If you have these 2 hours and you decide, I'm going to do this, it's not because you have some sort of cosmological long-term perspective or awareness of this is my path. Rather, it's more so that you care about your life, you care about how you feel, and you want to do things that are helpful, that cultivate, that build strength, that build clarity, that build the sense of direction and purpose within you. And this is really important when we understand that this eclipse season is ruled by Mars. Mars in Pisces really does bring forward that question of when to act and when not to act. Right? And I've spoken a little bit about this before, but I want to go a little bit more in depth. The existential crisis between the Aries and the Pisces archetype, which is sort of reflected with Mars and Aries, is that semi-sextile between Pisces and Aries. So let's take a look at this here. We have naturally a 30-degree aspect between Pisces and Aries, and in the evolutionary astrology teachings on phases, that 30-degree aspect from Pisces to Aries is the balsamic semi-sextile. There's a cycle coming into completion. The crisis and the confusion often with Mars and Pisces, or Mars in the 12th, or just the Pisces-Aries relationship, or Neptune in the first, let's say, is how do I act and make something, move in a direction, say no, say yes, without feeling like I'm getting in the way of life itself, without feeling like I'm getting in the way of God's will. I don't want to assert my own ego, my own sense of purpose, my own, arrogant idea of needing to be first. I don't want to get in the way, because Pisces, surrender, letting go, trusting. Mars, Aries, asserting, affirming. Right? And it really becomes more of how do I become an instrument for greater meaning and purpose to move through me? How do I become an instrument through my ability to show up and make choices for meaning, for love, for purpose, for something greater than myself to happen through me? But if we're sitting on our seat looking and waiting for that greater purpose, that greater meaning, we're not going to find it. This is why we are the ones that give meaning. Right? We decide what's meaningful. We're inspired by it. And it's not for anyone to judge. Right? For one person, this Pisces, Aries energy can be, I'm suddenly inspired to become this great bodybuilder. Great. That will be disillusioned at some point somehow. But go for it. That's meaning and direction. So for yourself where that inspiration, and this is a part of the learning right now. If we've been sort of suppressing our desires, our will, then there's something in us that might be roaring for attention. Oh, but I don't want to give attention to, that's not important, that doesn't matter. Sometimes we need to be activated just so that we can get in the movement of life, so that something greater can happen through us. If you're an artist, if you're a writer, right, but your work isn't seen, right? No one's seeing it. No one's reading your books. There might be something in really building the will to, I'm going to put myself out there, right? And where that goes, you can't control, but you will become an instrument for something to happen through you by way of you engaging your energy and making yourself available for greater experience. So it's very humbling. Now, let's take a look at this. With Mars moving into Pisces, but moving towards Saturn, and this is actually, happening just around the time of the actual solar eclipse right here. Mars is really right there with Saturn. This specifically speaks to the need to bring commitment into this. Are we inspired by it? Is it worth our time and our energy? If so, commit to it. If we're on the fence, if we're like, oh, I don't want to really commit, I don't want to do this, I don't want to give the time to it, remind yourself, give this advice to myself as well. If I'm not making commitments that will promise some kind of growth and meaningful experience because of the fact of the commitment and the consistency of that commitment, my life is going to be defined by whatever happens. Right? Metaphorically, my life will be defined by whatever I scroll on social media. But if I define my time according to something noble, it doesn't have to be the best decision in the world. It doesn't have to be the thing that I'm going to do forever, but it's going to give noble direction. And how you will know what that is it'll feel believable. It'll feel worth it. For most of us, this is not going to be just the goal of building muscle for its own sake to look very good. For some of us, it might be. And if it is, do that. If you're inspired by something like that, do that. It's not any more or less spiritual, you know what I'm saying, than any other desire. We all got to just play out this illusion of life, this human experience, and use the dream to further our own evolutionary growth. But this is about you claiming and noticing what's authentically alive and meaningful for you. This is where long-term discipline and devotion comes in. But it's fueled by the oomph, maybe the anger of not having claimed our own personal life, our own direction. This is really what I'm meditating on. This is sort of like my point of meditation during this eclipse season. How can I upgrade? How can I commit more fully to my purpose? Where do I want to go with my life? What do I want to accomplish? And for me, a lot of this has actually been facing some of my spiritual judgments, right? I want to grow my channel. I want to grow my following. Honestly, I probably would have felt embarrassed to even admit that to myself a few years ago, but I do. And I'm allowing myself to explore that. It's almost like I'm getting to a point where the sort of material goal of growing my following and, expanding my work is something I'm giving myself permission to shamelessly desire and give attention to. And I'm allowing myself to own and acknowledge and appreciate the immense growth that brings to my life and to my family. If I was like, hi guys, here are my teachings, I think this is valuable, but I don't want to believe in myself too much or take too much space up. So I hope you see it, but I'm not going to show you that I actually hope you see it. This Aries is, I actually want this to be seen. I'm putting forth the effort to put this out there. Do I control the outcome and how it goes? No. But energetically, vibrationally, I'm putting myself in this place because people won't benefit from this work. And I'm not going to benefit if I'm not committing myself to claim and bring forth the wisdom that's inside. I'm not going to learn from it myself. So there needs to be some willingness, and this is where that Chiron comes in. There needs to be some willingness to say yes to our life, and we might feel doubt. We might feel that vulnerability. I really think the combination of this Chiron and the strong Pisces-Saturn dynamic is inviting us to understand that our life will move forward through our willingness to claim the parts of ourselves that are calling for more agency, more oomph, more freedom, more purposeful choice making. And that might be uncomfortable, might be maturing us to a greater edge of self-trust, albeit we don't know where it's going to go. So to close this video, let me give a little attention to Mercury. So with Mercury being so active, let's appreciate that Mercury is about how we intellectually organize our reality. In general, it's retrograde. It's going to give it a little bit of a new spin, a new way of thinking, new information, new perspectives, new ways of framing our perceptions so that we can actually understand ourselves and our life and all that's going on in a new way. This can potentially, if we're open to it, open new doors, new ways of thinking that really furthers our own evolutionary growth. So this Mercury is saying, oh, there's something I need to say here, right? Aries Mercury is a lot of energy, a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of intellectual energy and curiosity to move and experience something new or to say something new. Right? We neither want to just be instinctive about it, but this energy needs to move. So there is a permission here to embrace that instinctual energy, consciously use that energy and be willing to two things. Ask questions about your life and how you're experiencing your personal life, or dynamics that have sort of been static. Think of it in new ways. Like, maybe there's another way of relating to this. Maybe there's another way of thinking about this. And two, be willing to just say things you've never said before. Put yourself out there, express your thoughts, speak for yourself. Fundamentally, this Mercury is the openness of the mind to feel free to think independently and freely in a way that opens up energy. Say the thing that you've been wanting to say, right? Claim your purpose. Don't be afraid of shaking up the status quo. Don't be afraid of people pleasing. Don't be afraid of doing something new. The more we consciously claim that lion that's waking up, the more we can tame it and let it live. But I think the danger in all of this is, if we're not connecting to that power inside, this Mercury is going to feel very stifled and will perhaps sort of move that energy by way of just like more confrontational encounters and experiences and conversations. If that arises, please recognize it's because we're really being called to claim more of our self-leadership. What is it we truly need to say? Which says, what is it I really need to claim and know about myself and my own conscious, thoughtful choice making and decisions right now? As always, this is our life to live. And the beauty and the gift of these transits is the realization, sort of the thickness, the heaviness of realizing, oh, this is my life to live. That's how we become co-creators with the divine and with the meaning that wants to live through us, that wants to be realized. It is not wrong, it is not bad to say, I exist. I'm going to claim what I want and make choices for that. As always, I'm available for one-on-one sessions. Those that are drawn to work with me in service to your own soul growth, I work with individuals, I work with relationships, and long-term soul-to-soul companionship sessions as well. My training program begins this week with our first live meeting. I'm keeping enrollment open for a little bit longer as we get settled into this program. For those that are drawn to study this work with me, please check it out in the description below. As always, thank you for watching.